It wasn't real rain, of course. The massive orbital colony floated above the violet clouds of the planet Carthage, 9, and the rain was only condensation falling from cooling towers that circled the station's outer ring. But when the droplets struck the metal walkways, they sounded just like rain on an old Earth roof. That night, I stood beneath it with nowhere left to go. My name is Elias Ward, former cargo pilot for the Terran Frontier Fleet. 3 weeks earlier, I had a ship, a crew, and a life. Then pirates ambushed us in the Perseus corridor. My ship was destroyed, my crew scattered, and I barely escaped with a damaged shuttle that limped its way to New Carthage Station. The authorities seized the shuttle the moment I arrived. Apparently, a broke human pilot without documentation looked suspicious. Since then, I'd been drifting through the lower decks of the station, living off cheap food dispensers and sleeping wherever security patrols didn't notice me. That night, the temperature regulators malfunctioned, and cold mist filled the corridor. I sat on a crate outside Docking Bay 17, staring at the glowing traffic of ships drifting past the transparent wall. Freighters, passenger liners, sleek alien vessels with curved hulls that shimmered like living metal. Everyone had somewhere to go, except me. I rubbed my hands together and tried to stay warm. Footsteps echoed behind me, not the heavy boots of station security. These steps were light, deliberate, almost musical. I turned. 3 tall figures approached from the corridor entrance. 2 wore silver armor that reflected the corridor lights like mirrors. Between them walked someone smaller, cloaked in dark blue fabric that shimmered like starlight. An alien. Not unusual on New Carthage, but something about her made the entire corridor seem quieter. Her hood shifted as she walked, revealing pale violet skin and eyes that glowed faintly like distant stars. I quickly looked away. Important aliens usually traveled with guards, and guards meant trouble for people like me. The group passed by. Then the cloaked figure stopped. I felt her gaze on me.
"Human," she said softly.
Her voice was calm, almost curious. I sighed inwardly.
"Great."
"Yes," I said, not standing. Her guards tensed immediately. One of them stepped forward. "You will stand when addressing." "It's fine," she interrupted gently. The guard froze. The cloaked woman stepped closer to me. Up close, I noticed intricate silver patterns woven into her cloak. Symbols that glowed faintly when they caught the light. Definitely someone important. "You're cold," she said. "I've been colder," I replied. "Do you live here?" I almost laughed. "Not exactly." Her glowing eyes studied me carefully. Then she glanced at the empty crate beside me. "You have nowhere to go." It wasn't a question. "No," I admitted. For a moment she said nothing. Her guards exchanged uneasy looks. Finally, she leaned slightly closer. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Stay in my room tonight." I blinked. "I'm sorry, what?" Her expression remained calm, but there was amusement in her glowing eyes. "You need shelter. I have space." One guard stepped forward urgently. "Princess, this is not." "Princess?" I nearly choked. The cloaked woman raised one hand, silencing him instantly. "It will be fine." Then she turned back to me. "Well," I stared at her. Every survival instinct I had screamed that this was insane. Powerful alien royalty didn't invite random humans to their rooms. Unless something strange was happening. "Why?" I asked carefully. Her smile was faint but genuine. "Because," she said softly, "you look like someone who has lost everything." She wasn't wrong. And honestly, sleeping in a warm room sounded better than freezing in a corridor. I stood. "All right," I said. "Lead the way." The princess's residence occupied an entire upper-level wing of the station. As we passed through security gates and glowing corridors, I felt increasingly out of place. The floors were polished crystal, the walls decorated with alien art that looked like shifting galaxies trapped inside glass. Finally, we entered a circular chamber with a ceiling so high it disappeared into shadows.
Her guard stopped at the doorway.
"You may leave," she told them. They hesitated. "Princess Lyra." That was not a request. Reluctantly, they stepped outside. The door sealed. I turned toward her slowly. "Princess Lyra?" She removed her hood. Her hair fell around her shoulders like liquid silver. "Yes," she said simply. "Princess of what, exactly?" "The Aurelian Empire." I froze. Even humans knew that name. The Aurelian Empire ruled hundreds of star systems. Their technology was centuries ahead of ours. Their fleets were rumored to be unstoppable. And I was standing in the private chamber of one of their princesses. "Okay," I said slowly. "I feel like I should be bowing. That would make things awkward." "Fair point." She walked to a table where a small device projected a glowing star map.
"Your pilot," she said.
"Was." She glanced at me. "You will be again." I raised an eyebrow. "You sound very confident." Lyra tilted her head. "Pilots have a certain posture. You still carry it." I couldn't help smiling slightly. She gestured toward a door. "There is a guest room." "Thank you." Then she hesitated. "But if you prefer."
She paused.
Her glowing eyes met mine again. "You may stay here." I blinked. "In your room?" "Yes." "That seems like a diplomatic incident waiting to happen." She laughed quietly. It would not be the first. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Finally, I shrugged. "Well, I guess when an alien princess offers a bed, refusing would be rude." The next morning began with chaos. I woke to the sound of voices outside the door. Angry voices. Completely unacceptable. That human cannot remain here. I sat up. Lyra stood near the window, calmly watching the violet clouds below the station.
"Good morning," she said.
"Your advisors sound thrilled." She smiled faintly. "They will survive." The door burst open. 3 Aurelian officials stormed inside, their robes glowing with authority symbols. One of them pointed at me like I was a dangerous animal. "That human must leave immediately." Lyra remained calm.
"No."
The officials stared at her in shock. "Princess, your safety. He is not a threat." "You cannot know that." Lyra looked back at me. "Elias, would you harm me?" "No," I said. She turned to the officials.
"There."
Problem solved. They looked like they might explode. This is highly irregular. Many good decisions are. The argument continued for nearly an hour. In the end, Lyra won. Apparently, being the Emperor's daughter gave her certain privileges. When the officials finally left, she looked amused. "You handled that well," I said. "They are very dramatic. Royal politics usually are." She leaned against the window beside me. "Tell me about your ship." I hesitated. Then I told her everything. The pirates. The ambush. Losing my crew. When I finished, she was quiet for a long time. Finally, she said something unexpected. "I want to help you."
"How?"
"There is a ship in the royal hangar." I frowned. "A royal ship?" "Yes." "That sounds expensive." "It is." I crossed my arms. "And you're just going to give it to me?" "Not exactly." She smiled slightly. "I need a pilot." 3 days later, I stood inside the most advanced spacecraft I had ever seen. The Aurora Sphere. Its controls responded instantly to my touch, as if the ship itself was alive. Lyra stood behind me, watching. "Well," she asked, "I think this ship could outrun half the fleets in the galaxy." "That was the intention." "Why do you need a pilot?" She hesitated. Then her voice became quieter. "Because someone is trying to kill me." I turned slowly. That escalated quickly. There have been 3 attempts in the last month. And you think leaving the station will help? Yes. Where are we going? She stepped closer to the navigation console and activated the star map. A red marker appeared deep in unexplored space. My father's secret fortress. That sounds ominous. It is safe. I sighed. Well, I did say I needed a new job. Lyra smiled. Then let us leave. We departed New Carthage Station within the hour. The Aurora sphere accelerated smoothly into the stars. For the first time in weeks, I felt something close to hope. But peace didn't last long. Halfway through the jump corridor, alarms erupted. Multiple ships incoming. I shouted. Lyra's eyes widened. They found us. 3 dark warships dropped out of hyperspace behind us. Pirate vessels. Except their designs looked strangely familiar. Aurelian tech. I said. Lyra's expression hardened. Someone inside the Empire is helping them. The pirate ships opened fire. Energy beams slashed across space. I pushed the Aurora sphere into a sharp spiral maneuver. Hang on. The ship dodged the first volley. But more attacks followed. They're trying to disable us. Lyra warned. Not happening. I diverted power to the engines. The Aurora sphere surged forward. Missiles streaked past us. One exploded dangerously close, shaking the entire ship. Lyra grabbed the console. Can we outrun them? Working on it. Then an idea struck me. Princess. Yes. You trust me?
She didn't hesitate.
Yes. Good. I aimed the ship straight toward an asteroid field. Lyra looked alarmed. That is not the fortress. I know. The pirates followed us into the field. Exactly what I wanted. I twisted the ship through the floating rocks, barely avoiding collisions. The pirate ships struggled to keep up. One smashed into an asteroid and exploded. The second lost its engines. Only one remained. I smiled. Now we finish this. The Aurora sphere spun around and fired its forward cannons. The final pirate ship erupted in a burst of fire. Silence returned to space. Lyra stared at the destroyed ships. You just defeated 3 warships. I've had worse days. She looked at me with something like admiration. I am very glad I invited you to stay in my room. I grinned. Best job offer I've ever received. 2 weeks later, we reached the hidden fortress. Lyra's father welcomed us personally. The Emperor studied me carefully. So, you are the human pilot? Yes, sir. You protected my daughter. I tried. The Emperor nodded slowly. You will remain here. I blinked. Permanently? Lyra smiled beside me. That depends. On what? She stepped closer. On whether you wish to stay. I looked out at the endless stars beyond the fortress. 2 weeks earlier, I had nothing. Now I had a ship, a purpose, and a princess who believed in me. I smiled. I had nowhere to go, I said. Lyra laughed softly. And now? I glanced at her. Now I think I found exactly where I belong. She whispered the same words that had changed everything that night on New Carthage Station. You can stay. And this time I knew I would.